So I recently bought and reviewed the cheapest wheel I could find on the market. For the £20 that I spent, I got a pretty basic Thrustmaster T80. Now this wheel had no force feedback, and although it did work for what it was, I would not have used it again. But after having even the slightest taste of the sim racing experience,
nice,
I decided to dip into the bank and see what I could get for the modest sum of £100. Now for me, £20 wasn't too big of a number. You know, even if it just went straight to charity after the test, it wouldn't really be an issue. But once we got to the 3-figure mark, I started to be more apprehensive. If this didn't work out, then I'd be out £100. And there is a lot I can buy with £100. I mean, I could pre-order F1, and I could also finally get the Crew Motorfest. But instead, I took the risk and bought this. The Thrustmaster T-150 coming in at £60, and for the added luxury, the T3PA Pedals coming in at £30. When people talk about budget wheels, the T150 and the Logitech G29 get compared a lot, and there is good reason. They both provide an entry-level force feedback system, with the difference being the G29 being a gear-driven system, and the T150 being a mix of both belt and gear-driven. The difference isn't huge, but the G29's feedback is known to be slightly notchy. Another difference is the build quality, but I'm going to touch on that later. Before we get into the wheel specs, I just want to quickly talk about the pedals. The base T150 comes with the standard cheap plastic pedals, which in short are terrible. So for an extra £30, I picked up a set of T3PA pedals, which provide a slightly higher build quality and also a clutch, which is nice. The T3PAs are the younger brother to the TLCM load cell pedals, which, although are far better, are way out of my price range. But the T3PAs have a heavy feel with metal plated pedals and provided brake modification to make them firmer. They work well for what they are, and they're a huge step up from the dinky plastic pedals. But anyway, back to the wheel. It provides a 1080 degree of rotation, which means you can play literally any game on this thing, from F1 to Truck Simulator. As usual, all the buttons you would normally find on a controller can be found on the face of the wheel, and the metal shifters have a nice tactile click. I will also say that the force feedback does feel pretty solid. To be honest, it's much more powerful than I was expecting. I've never really tried a direct drive wheel, so I can't comment on the difference, but from past experiences with the G29, the T150 is definitely on the same level, if not higher. But what I will say is there were two main reasons I chose this over the Logitech. Firstly, as I said before, it's far cheaper. Even with the extra pedals, it still came in at about £30 cheaper. Plus, if I sold the plastic pedals I don't need, then it would be even more cheap. If I wanted to, I could even buy a wheel stand and keep it under £100, but for now, I don't really need that. But the other reason I chose the T150 was the upgrade path that Thrustmaster provides. If I decided to scrape out a bit more money, then I can get a shifter, then I could upgrade the wheelbase, then upgrade the pedals, etc, etc. It means that my wheel rig can slowly evolve if I decide to invest a bit more into it. But the main downside of this wheel is the build quality. Although it isn't bad by any standards, it's all just plastic and a bit of rubber. Compared to the leather trim of the G29, some may feel this looks a bit more dinky in comparison. So would I recommend the T150? 100%. As I said before, I picked this up for £60, and for that price you literally can't go wrong. Brand new, it's about 180, but at that price you may as well go for a used T300. But anyway, thanks for watching the video. If you want to see more sim racing videos, reviews, races and more, subscribe.